I'm Alan Kenny, Managing Editor with REIT.com, and I'm here in Washington, D.C. at NAREIT's Washington Leadership Forum. Joining me is Mike Fascitelli, CEO of Vornado Realty Trust. Mike, your properties are in the retail and office sectors, two that are considered pretty vulnerable to economic cycles. How's that impacted your strategic thinking since 2008?
Well, we paid down a lot of debt since the depths of the crisis in 2008 and 9. Paid over $2 billion of debt down, extended our maturity schedules out, because that obviously gives you a lot more operating leeway and flexibility. We had a very aggressive plan to keep the buildings full. We were one of the few people, along with other REITs, that had capital to do that. And that allowed us to really maintain full occupancy, or relatively full occupancy, and mitigate any kind of cash flow impact. I find it fairly remarkable that we rode through that time, even with the economic vulnerability, with very little decrease in our cash flow, almost no impact. We have long-term leases, which helps that too. So in general, you know, it wasn't a fun experience, but we got through it. And obviously we made the financial side of the business reflect the fact that it was an uncertain time.
And in addition to owning and operating real estate, Vornado also operates an investment fund. Do you see that side of the business kind of growing in coming years?
Well, I'm not going to speculate in the future of that, but I would say that when we did that, it was a particularly, opportune time to expand the kind of capital we attracted. We obviously have been on all parts of the capital markets, the equity markets, the debt markets, unsecured debt markets, the preferred markets, the convertible markets, and we had done some private joint ventures, and this is another way to expand those relationships and take what was, again, more funding sources to continue to grow our business. So it's a fund, but I would describe it more as a partnership, a club deal with a handful of very big partners that have led to joint venture relationships and other strategic relationships. So we're happy with it. It's still got 18 months left to go in its investment period. I don't want to speculate beyond that.
And Mike, we always see when titans of industry start to get ready to move on, the questions start to rise up. Who's going to be replacing them? What are these companies doing to groom their successor? Warren Buffett today says that he has his successor in mind, but he's not going to tell the person who that is. You came up under Steve Rother at Vornado. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like for you coming through there, what he did to kind of groom you to take over at Vornado as the CEO?
Well, certainly Steve is a titan. Actually, I've been with Vornado now over 15 years. And I came in to be Steve's partner. And I came out of a partnership culture from McKinsey, then Goldman Sachs as a partner. And Steve brought me in as a partner, and the two of us helped build the modern Vornado. Steve had built a great company up until that point, but the modern Vornado, which went on a more aggressive acquisition binge starting in 1997. And Steve and I were partners along the way. So, when I became CEO a few years ago, it was an evolutionary process. It wasn't a revolutionary process. We were working together. I also like that Steve didn't go anywhere. He's still the chairman of the company, and he's still very involved in the running of the business as well as the strategy of the business. And it's great to have his continued involvement in his leadership. Sometimes the titans want to do something radically different, and sometimes the titans don't want to allow somebody like me to actually grow and come in be a partner, and sometimes they want to be too involved. I think Steve and I have found the right mix of that.
Thank you very much for joining us, Mike.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
For more on this and other REIT news and analysis, check out REIT.com.